And welcome back to another amazing episode of Wrestling with Bros. This is Big Baby Ben.
Judas Black here, and tonight we have the infamous Nick Nolan on the show. We get people always talking about this man, saying he is just nasty. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man?
Well, I'm a piece of shit. And yeah, I mean, the character is a piece of shit. I'm actually, I'd like to consider myself a very level-headed person. But once the cameras are rolling, it's a whole different story. But yeah, man, wrestling is something I've been passionate about since I was 12, 13 years old. So I try to exude that passion while I perform. And I really feel, like the best in the business are able to do that. And that's what separates, great from good, from mediocre. Yeah. And I'm trying to be great.
There you go. Yeah, no, I don't know if I told my buddy here, when I try to think of how to compare you to somebody, I kind of see a little bit of Seth Rollins, but I also see a little bit of Roman Reigns.
Like physically, yeah. We all have long hair and beard. I'm sorry?
If you took the two of them and just kind of combined them, you got that nastiness of Roman Reigns when he's a tribal chief, and then you got the charismatic architect Seth Rollins, who's just always plotting, always thinking in his head.
Yeah, so I mean, from what you're telling me, it sounds like I should be main eventing WrestleMania, not them.
There you go.
No,
I have a fan comment.
I'm sorry?
I have a fan comment.
I appreciate that, but I try to. Yeah, we all look very similar. Obviously, we're all tan. We all have long hair. We all have beards. So I mean, that's inevitable that I'm going to get those comparisons. Yeah. But it always, every show that I go to, I always hear that. But at the start of the show, I hear that. But at the end of the show, people have a completely different. They just go based off of what they see immediately. But by the end of the show, it's a completely different opinion. And what I try to do is completely different from what Rollins does and from what Reigns does.
Absolutely.
That's something that I'm really trying to, with all these shows that I do, really try to do different things to try to stand out and really try to get away from those comparisons, because it's going to be inevitable. We all look similar, which may not be the best thing. It's annoying, to be honest, but it is what it is. It doesn't get to me as much as it used to. Now it's actually like, I wish people would come up with something else, because I hear it every single show. But it is what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's always at some point that they're going to say, hey, you remind me of this guy, or you remind me of this guy. But I mean, you've got your own unique character. I can already tell you that for sure. You come out and you establish that you're there to do something. You're there to dominate and to prove your point. And, you came out the whole show. You kept coming out, popping out. And I could tell the fans were booing you. They didn't like you. But I could tell you that by the end of the night at HAW, I think people actually liked you pretty well, especially after you delivered that nasty spear to Gunner. That was awesome. I was cheering you at that point. I was like, yes.
Well, I guess I'm not doing my job well enough if you're cheering for me.
Dude, I loved it. It was great. It was great.
No, I do appreciate that, because it's inevitable. Like, there's always going to be, growing up, I was always a fan of bad guys. I never liked any baby faces. When Triple H was a baby face, I didn't like him. When Edge was a baby face, I didn't like him. When Randy Orton's a baby face, I don't like him. I like that that darker side, the sadistic side, the side, where my truth is real, whether you agree with it or not, but this is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do. I like that aspect of the heel work. And that's something that I try to, every show that I do, I really try to tell a story and come up with my form of a truth that I want to portray out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one big thing we brought you on for tonight, and especially, we want to give you the spotlight tonight, be able to talk about yourself. That's great. We love that. And one of the big things that we want to talk to you about tonight, MCW is hosting a show April 27th in Ottawa, Illinois. I think it's the
Skydive Chicago. Yeah.
Skydive Chicago. And we are super excited because we are going to be there. We're actually going to be running commentary that night
cool.
through Wrestling Bros along with the announcer for the show. And it's going to be a great time. And they said if it's good enough, that they'd like it to become more of a normal thing for us. And that's exciting for us.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, we're trying to get our word out there and who Wrestling with Bros is. And that's why we try to bring as many wrestlers as we can on here, to kind of spread that word. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that show, a little bit about your match, the show itself, kind of describe it for us a little bit.
So April 27th, I'm in a triple threat match for the MCW Heavyweight Championship with myself, Koa Laksamana, and AMB. Now, Koa Laksamana and myself go back to July, August, something like that, where in the very first show for MCW, I beat him in the main event.
Ooh.
Fast forward the next show or a couple of shows after, I was out with an injury, and they basically gave him the heavyweight championship on a silver platter. He won his match, which, first of all, he shouldn't have been in. And if he was going to be facing anyone for the championship, it should have been me. And the fact that they didn't postpone that and wait for me, even though I rightfully, essentially, earned the championship in the first ever show by beating an NWA superstar, but I don't book the show. So, so in October, he won the championship. I took him out that night. I took him and Kaylee out.
Yeah.
He's been champion for months, not showing up to the show. He's Hawaiian. That seems to be a theme with the Polynesian wrestlers. You're a champion, you don't show up. And that's something that pissed me off, honestly, because here I am coming to every show, busting my ass. I'm driving 4 or 5 hours to go to these shows.
I liked that.
I'm representing the show where I should be a champion, and I'm not. And then forgive me, these days are just blurs, so I'm not good with exactly when things happen. But I want to say October, November or something, I had enough. I called him out, and then Brian Kendrick decides to interfere and run his mouth talking about how he wants to challenge me to a fight. I made him tap with his own move, the Captain's Hook. So I beat Brian Kendrick to become #1 contender for the MCW Heavyweight Championship.
I watched that match.
Hell yeah.
It's one of my favorite matches. And Brian is a friend of mine outside of the ring, but in the ring, no one are friends. So fast forward the next show, or a couple of shows later, I'm in the main event again for the MCW Heavyweight Championship.
Yep.
The championship I should have. The championship I became #1 contender for and defended the #1 contendership for, which is crazy to me because I'm defending a contendership more than a champion defends the belt. So I go into this match and I have Koa Laksamana beat. And then all of a sudden AMB wants to cash in his money in the bank that he won at the show where I beat Brian Kendrick.
Jesus.
Butting in, interjecting where he feels he needs to input his 2 cents. And unfortunately for me, I was the one that took the pinfall in that because Kaylee interfered. I got speared. AMB just jumped off the top rope, right place, right time. He won the championship. After the match, he did exactly. I couldn't even be mad. I couldn't even be mad. He literally did exactly what I would have done. And had the roles been reversed, I would have done the exact same thing. So after the match, I shake his hand. Oh, great kid, congratulations. I headbutt him in the skull, and then I make him pass out to the captain's hook, the same move that I made Brian Kendrick pass out to. So obviously, I know what it takes to be a champion. I've beaten champions. I've beaten someone who's held the WWE championship. I've beaten an ECW champion. I've made AMB pass out, who's the MCW heavyweight champion. I've beaten the MCW heavyweight champion before, Cole Oxmana. You would think that I should be the MCW heavyweight champion, but here I am. What's today, March 24th, and I'm still not champion. And that's something that really irritates me. So April 27th, I finally get my hands on AMB. I get my hands on Cole Oxmana. And being that it's a triple threat, there's no disqualifications. I can do whatever I want. And I don't have to worry about Money in the Bank being cashed in because it was already cashed in. So now my focus is on AMB. My focus is on Cole Oxmana. My focus is on Kaylee's because she is a very integral part of that system. If it wasn't for her, I can honestly say I'd be the MCW heavyweight champion right now. But, again, people butting in when they shouldn't be butting in, interjecting themselves in my business when they shouldn't be doing that seems to be costing me championships, but that's okay. So April 27th, Sky Dive Chicago. Long story short, I'm beating AMB, I'm beating Cole Oxmana, and I'm taking the heavyweight championship. That should have been mine in October.
All right. Big words here. Nasty Nick being straightforward, telling you guys, AMB, Cole Oxmana, you guys are not walking out of there, either one of you, with that championship, per Nasty Nick.
No, they may not walk out, period. They may not walk out, period. With the championship or not, it doesn't really matter.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see this show, man. I'm excited to call it. I'm excited to be a big part of it, and it's a triple threat match. Just singles matches are great, but a triple threat, anything can happen. And Wrestling Biz 29, one of our fans here says, sounds like this match is personal.
It's very personal. It's very personal. It's been personal since August or whenever it was that I first beat Cole Oxmana. I should have had the championship back then. I wouldn't have lost it by now. I've been to every show since except December, but that's what, 5, 6, 7 shows that the belt would have been defended. He shows up. I think he showed up once since he won the championship before AMB beat me for the championship. So, why would they want someone like that representing the company? WWE already has somebody like that, and look what's going to happen to him. You not showing up defending your championship is not a good look. You want someone like me representing your company.
Absolutely. You want somebody that's there defending it day in and day out. They're trying to compare, and don't get me wrong, I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I like Roman Reigns. I like the gimmick. I like the tribal chief, the whole thing. But the one thing I don't agree with, and it's exactly what you're saying, is not being there to defend it. You've got these wrestlers that they're trying to compare him to, like Hulk Hogan and the ones that have reigned.
Bruno Sammartino,
over 2,000 days as champion, but they defended the title multiple times, hundreds of times. Roman Reigns, 50 some times in 1,300 days.
But you know what? That's not his fault. That's the schedule he has, and good for him. I would do the exact same thing. And you know what? When I'm MCW champion, I might do the exact same thing. I didn't like it, but you know what? Apparently the company doesn't care. So maybe I won't show up when I win the championship. And then what are they going to do then? What are they going to strip it from me? They should have stripped it from Koa. They didn't do that. So are they going to do it to me? No, they're not.
Nope. So, we always like to go through some stuff, with our guests on the show. We heard about MCW and we can't wait. It's going to be a great time. Absolutely. But we like to be able to discuss our fans, what kind of brought you into the wrestling business? What promotion did you start with? Where did you train with? Things like that. Because people love to hear about that. So
it's funny you say that, because for the longest time, the first memory I've ever had of wrestling, I must have been 3 or 4 years old. I walk into my dad's bedroom and on the TV is Yokozuna versus The Undertaker, and the ropes were red, white, and blue.
Yep.
And I don't remember anything besides that. And WWE uploaded that match a couple of weeks ago, and it was a casket match between Yokozuna and Undertaker at like Great American Bash or something like that. So I watched it back, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is the first memory of wrestling I've ever had. And I remember like seeing that. It was a wide shot, Yoko standing above Undertaker. It's frozen in my memory banks. But I never really watched wrestling after that until I was about 12, 13 years old because of The Undertaker. He scared the shit out of me. And I'm convinced, you know, I remember being 6 years old, turning on the bathroom light, and he was in there with me. So, and it was Ministry Undertaker. It was scary Undertaker. So I didn't watch wrestling. And then, you know, one day my dad says, hey, you want to go to Madison Square Garden and watch SmackDown? And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to Madison Square Garden and watch SmackDown. Hang up the phone. I'm like, you know what? It's a way I can spend some time with my dad. So I call him back. I'm like, all right, I'll go. I'll do you a favor. I'll go watch some wrestling with you. So at that show, the very first match I saw live was John Cena versus Orlando Jordan.
Yep.
And the main event of that show was Big Show and Team Angle versus Mr. America, Brock Lesnar, and Hulk Hogan. Oh, no. Mr. America was Hulk Hogan. Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle versus Big Show and Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, which is crazy to think about. So what really, the moment that solidified it for me was after the show went off the air. I didn't know who Hulk Hogan was, so I didn't know Hulk Hogan was Mr. America. But once he was in the ring by himself and he started doing the poses and they were playing Hulk Hogan's theme song, and he lifted his mask up to like expose, because I guess the whole story at that time was Vince McMahon. It's like, I know you're Hulk Hogan, you know, we're going to give you these lie detector tests. If you're Hulk Hogan, you're fired, that kind of thing. And, you know, he was like, I'm not Hulk Hogan, brother. And he lifted the mask and Madison Square Garden erupted. I remember looking to my right and the building was literally shaking. And I remember looking down. I remember looking back down at the ring and then looking at my dad and then looking back down. And it's like, this is what I have to do with the rest of my life. This is it. This electricity I feel in this building right now is what I need in my life. But being 13 years old at the time, like, how the hell do you become a wrestler? Like, you don't know. Like, so it was just, I would watch wrestling and just have this plan. I'm going to become a wrestler someday. So fast forward, in 2000, I want to say 11, is when I first found a wrestling school in Staten Island because a professional wrestler was in one of my classes. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, this is wild. This is, you know, it's meant to be, that kind of thing. So I wound up going there. And then I met someone there. And he's like, dude, this place sucks. We need to figure out, like, how if we're taking this seriously, we need to go to a legit school. So I'm like, yeah, we need to. So we decided to go to Lance Storm.
Yep.
So in 2012, I went to Lance Storm in Calgary. I trained with him over the summer for 3 months. And it's honestly one of the greatest experiences of my life because, you know, living in another country, just every day doing, you know, wrestling with someone like that. You know, it's not some guy who did a couple of squash matches in WWF in the 80s.
It's Lance freaking Storm.
It's Lance Storm. Yeah. So that was an amazing experience. And I met my best friend over there who actually surprised, like, it's crazy how this works. So the person I was supposed to go with to the school couldn't wind up going. So my friend took his spot in the house. So, you know, once he was there, we became best friends and we talk every day to this day. But after we finished Calgary, I went back to New York. I trained with Tommy Dreamer for a couple of months.
Wow.
And I trained at Creative Pro for a couple of months. And that class had MJF, had Max Caster, Bear Bronson, like all like those kids. And then when I was at Lance's, I had Peyton Royce, I had Australian Suicide, Kellyanne English, who was in Ring of Honor for a little bit. Um, so after I did that, my friend from Canada was like, "Hey, I'm training with Brian Kendrick in California. He said he'll give you a deal if you come over." So I was like, "What the hell do I have to do? Like, how do I get over there?" So I literally quit my job at FedEx and I threw everything I had in my car and I drove across the country by myself. So I get to California at like 11:30 at night. The next morning I'm training with Brian, and it's just so crazy to me. That guy, he's the most passionate and giving person I've ever met in this business.
Mm.
If you care, he cares. If you don't care, he doesn't care. You know, he's that kind of a person. Like, he wants you to succeed, but you have to put the work in. And so I went over there and he never really charged me anything. I paid a couple of times, but he never really asked. He never brought it up. I would bring it up and he'd be like, "Oh, don't worry about it." You know, like he really did me a big favor. It was so kind of him. He's such a generous person. And he's the kind of person who will give you the shirt off of his back. And that's something in wrestling, and I'm sure you'll come across this. You're not going to meet a lot of people like that.
No.
So living in California, everything is $1 million. You don't make any money. All your money goes to your rent, your bills, and all that. And I just couldn't support myself and wrestle and train with Brian at the same time. So it's like, what do? I can't not pay my bills. So I had to stop wrestling. So I stopped wrestling for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I didn't do anything. And then one day I just decided I was like, enough is enough. This is what I want to do with my life. I have to figure out how I'm going to get to the WWE. This is before AEW was even around. So I texted Brian, and I haven't spoken to him in like 6 years at this point. I was like, holy shit, if he answers me, I'd be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
But I text him, put my phone down. He never answered. 2 weeks later, I'm at my job and he's like, "Hey, Nick, I'm sorry it took so long. I've just been so busy with this, and the other thing. I would love if you came down to the WPW, which is his promotion, Wrestling Pro Wrestling in Burbank, California. If you come down and we can, meet up and talk or whatever." I was so surprised that he was so receptive, because I know how serious he takes wrestling and how me stepping away would be like a slap in the face to him.
Yeah.
Because he invested a lot of time and effort. But I had to, and I went to the show. I met up with him. After the show, we were talking. And I was like, "Hey, look, man, this is what I want to do with my life. There's no one more passionate about wrestling than you. Would you be open?" And I straight up asked him, because if I didn't ask him then, I don't know if I ever would have. I said, "Would you be open to being my mentor? Like, more than a coach. Like, yeah, coach is great, but like an actual mentor for me." And he said, "You know what? If that's what you would like, then I'll do it. But if you don't want it, I'm not going to force you to do it." And he gave me a hug, which, it was such like a genuine hug. It wasn't like that bullshit, "Hey, what's up, man?" kind of hug. It was like, "We're going to do this, like we're really going to do this, and you got to put the work in." So I was like, "Okay, when are you training?" "Oh, I'm not training anymore." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I was like, "Okay, so what can we do?" So he's like, "If you want, you can come to my house." He was on the road at this time with WWE. So he was home like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that. He's like, "On Tuesdays, if I'm available, just come to my house and we'll watch wrestling. We'll talk. We'll figure this out." So for months, I would go to his house and just sit on his couch and watch wrestling. And we would watch and dissect and break things down. and I would just ask a million questions. I ask a lot of questions because I want to make sure I understand, and I want to make sure I understand properly. So one of the matches that I really wanted to watch with him was him versus Kota Ibushi from Cruiserweight Classic. And he's not one like myself to really want to watch yourself after you wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, I'll do it for you. So we're sitting down, we're watching the show, and we're pausing. Why did you do this? Oh, I did this because of that. Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Like, I'm literally asking the person in the match why they're doing these things. And this match is such a classic match. This is one of, for sure, Brian's most popular matches and Kota's most popular matches.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to dissect everything essentially frame by frame during that match, picking his brain. But he still I wasn't getting any ring time. And that's what I needed. And so one day, it was probably a week before my birthday, which is in April, the end of April.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't not wrestle. Like, he's not coaching right now, like in the ring. He wasn't training people at the time. So what am I gonna do? I just happened to take a shot in the dark, and I emailed Black and Brave, and I was like, hey, is there any possibility to squeeze me in for an upcoming class, sometime in the next year or so? Because I know they're booked out.
Yeah.
So they get back to me and say, oh, well, someone just dropped out. Class starts in 2 weeks if you want to come.
Oh, shit.
And they're like, oh, you need to pay everything right now, by the way. And I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? I had the money, which I wasn't expecting spending right away. But I was like, you know what? This is what I had to do right now.
Yep.
So I made arrangements with my job. I got everything in order. I paid them. And I think it was something like 8 days later, I was in Davenport right after that email, which is crazy. So I get here. We have the conditioning test. It's called Day Zero over there, which is, honest to God, the hardest workout I've ever done in my life. I think to this point, still the hardest workout I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And we were doing whatever it was.
You call it a Day Zero test?
Yeah, Day Zero. So this is before the class actually starts. So it's like a week before the class starts.
Yeah.
It's called the Day Zero conditioning test. And it's to weed people out.
Yeah.
And people did drop out of that. And while we're doing it, like, Seth Rollins is nowhere to be found. So we're like, what the hell's going on? And then he just casually walks in, doesn't say anything. He just walks in, and just everyone's doing their burpees and running miles around the block. But then, like, he gets really involved in all of that, which is great. Which is, now he's just Colby to me. But at the time, it's like, holy shit, that's Seth Rollins, man. Like, that's the dude from the Shield. Like, he's right there, And so we did the conditioning test. 4 or 5 people dropped out that night or day. And then a week later, we started the actual class. And then the first few weeks were brutal, really, really brutal. And we were learning the basics, all this stuff that I already knew. I knew how to roll. I knew how to bump. I knew how to do all this stuff. But I had to be a part of the class. I can't just be like, hey, guys, I'm not doing this shit. I know how to do it already. No, absolutely not. You do it again. So we did all that. And again, the first few weeks is really just weeding people out. I think we started the class with 14. And after the first day, they're like, yeah, half of you are going to drop out. And we're like, yeah, okay. Half of us dropped out. And what's really tough is it's so high intensity. Your body does start breaking down because, you may not be sleeping well. You may not be eating well. And it's just a lot of stressors. So you can't miss, I think, 4 or 5 classes, because if you miss 4 or 5 classes, it's like you got to come back another time and pay again, because that's about 25% of the entire course, which is fair. That's understandable. But you
Yeah.
know, people got concussions. They couldn't wrestle. I got bruised ribs. I missed 4 classes. And I was like, dude, I can't miss another one. And I'm bumping with bruised ribs. And they're like, oh, yeah, today we're going to do tackles. I'm like, of course we are. Why wouldn't we do tackles when I have bruised ribs? Right? But and I'm taking these tackles from Conan Lycan, you know, and he's a big boy. He's a
Oh,
big boy. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, this is crazy. What am I doing here? You know? But you just I remember like we're doing all these conditioning, and I remember looking over, I'm like, yo, that's Seth Rollins, man. This is what I wanted for the last 6 years. I couldn't do this for 6 years. My body is hurting.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins is right there. I just dropped $4,000 to come here. Like, I can't go home.
No.
So I get through that. My bruised ribs didn't really get better until like the end of the class. But right after that, I hurt my knee. And it's like I had to buy a brace off Amazon because I couldn't miss any more days. So I'm limping around like Undertaker after a WrestleMania match. And we're doing like jumping over the top rope and back body drops and all these things, or like flipping and landing on your feet and all these things. I'm like, of course we're doing this when my knee is bothering me. But again, it's like one of those things. Hey, you know what? Class is almost done. I'll deal with this because I'll have months to recover. You know, but you just do it. If it's something you want bad enough, you'll just do it.
Yeah.
So fast forward, Seth didn't really get hands on with everything until the end of the class, which is the most important part. That's when we're doing our matches. That's when we have psychology day. Like, he doesn't need to tell you how to roll, how to bump, how to do this. How, you know, like, they have the other coaches for that. And the last day of class was the weekend before SummerSlam 2022, where he was going to be wrestling Riddle.
Yep.
And then they're like, all right, today we're going to have an 8-man tag match. It's going to be Nick, Joe, Tom, and I think RJ versus, you know, DJ, Maggie, Jeremy, and Seth Rollins. And we're like, what? So he's like, all right, let's go put together the match. And we're like, what? So we go to the back of the gym. He's like, all right, what do you guys want to do? What? You know, like, this is just so surreal. You know, this guy, he's 2 days before this, he's on TV, and, you know, everyone's singing his song, and he's, you know, curb stomping Austin Theory or whatever, you know, and now we're wrestling him in an empty gym on a Thursday, and it's 106 degrees, you know. And so, but what's crazy, him and I started the match, and just being in there with someone like that, holy shit, it is. I don't even want to say night and day. It is light years ahead of what you're used to. He's so good at what he does.
Yes.
But being able to be in there and work with him and have him talk to you while you do things and watch how he sells and where he goes and how he reacts, and, you know, it was just such a life-changing experience for me. I learned so much in that match. And the end of the match, we did a waterfall for the tag spot.
Yeah.
I hit someone with my dirty deeds. He hit me with the AA. And as far as I know, it's only me and John Cena who have ever taken that. So, I mean, that's pretty good company. And we got through that match, and class was done. And it was just wild, you know, because from what other people told me, he doesn't do that. Or at least didn't up until that point. He may have, you know, since then.
Yeah.
You know, but he's just so good, you know. And to this day, I send him matches that I feel, you know, are good enough to, because when I first started, he'll straight up tell you, like, dude, this sucks. What the hell are you doing? And it's like, damn, it's that bad. Like, What am I doing with my life? What is going? And it sucks, you know, because it's like, here I am. I want to be in WWE and have Seth Rollins telling me this shit sucks, you know.
Oh man.
But that's what I want. That's how you get better. Because if he's like, yeah, that's great, how am I going to get better? You know.
Right.
And then we'll be texting, and he'll be sending me voice notes and be explaining things, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. You know, like I'm texting Seth Rollins, like, hey, watch my match, and he watches my match.
Yeah.
And he'll give me the feedback and be like, hey, this shit sucked. Do this or try this.
Okay.
You know, this is what separates someone like Roman Reigns from Bobby Lashley, and this is why you should be looking to do this. You know, that kind of thing. And I've only been wrestling on shows for like a year and a couple of months at this point.
Wow.
And it's night and day from when I started. And a lot of that I owe to him being Seth Rollins and Brian Kendrick, because they both they'll watch my stuff, give me feedback. Like I said, I ask a lot of questions. And that's why I think I'm able to grasp it so quickly, because I get information the way I need to hear it. But the thing is, with both of them, they don't tell you what you want to hear. Like, you can be fishing for compliments, but they're not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Which is good. So when you know, Seth Rollins is like, oh, that was okay. I'm like, damn, that's a compliment. I'll take that. Because he's not going to be like, that's great. You know, I'm sure he doesn't want you to get a big head, you know, but he's like, it's okay.
Right.
Oh, that's decent. I'm going to be like, yo, that's good enough for me right now, you know? So yeah, they help so much. And that's a long-winded answer from you asking me how I got into wrestling.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much my entire cliff notes of my I took my first bump at Chaotic Wrestling in Massachusetts, which is where Killer Kowalski had his school, and that's where Kofi Kingston and like Sasha Banks trained back in the day. I went up there, and I remember reading Edge's book, and he's like, yeah, the first bump I ever took, it felt like someone sucked the life out of me. So I took my first bump. I'm like, that wasn't too bad. You know, they're like, okay, bump again. That was the one that I was, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, and you know how that feels, Judas. You know, like it hurts. It's not a bed. It's not a trampoline. It's not a mattress. You know, it hurts.
I started doing bump practices outside in my yard on a mat.
You're probably better off doing that, because then when you actually bump in a ring, it doesn't seem that bad. And you'll learn.
No, that hurts if you hit the wrong way.
Yeah,
just laying flat on that hard mat on that hard ground. Like,
yeah, that's what Dolph Ziggler did when he started. He jumped off of cars and back bumped. You know? But I mean, if you can do that, you can back bump in a ring. You know. Yeah. And of course, some rings are different than others. Some rings feel good. Some rings suck. But man, you know, I'm just so grateful that I have people like that. Of course, I want to be like, hey, just get me signed. Just sign me somewhere, you know? But again, they're not the ones that are going to be handing it out, because they had to work the indies, you know? And it's like, oh, well, I get it, you know? And I'll do what I have to do. I'm gonna get there eventually. It's just my journey is going to be different. My dad wasn't a wrestler, you know. I didn't play soccer in high school and college and get signed because I played soccer, and I built Legos on YouTube. You know, I don't do any of that stuff. Yeah, I'm an actual professional wrestler. I'm a sports entertainer. So my path to become a WWE superstar or AEW is going to be different, you know, because that's not who they're looking to hire right now. But at the end of the day, if you look at who's on top in the business, it's all professional wrestlers, people who work in the indies, aside from Roman Reigns. But he was born in the business. Same thing with The Rock, you know? Yep. Aside from those guys, I don't know anybody who's so successful in professional wrestling that didn't work the indies. Yep. You look at Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, LA Knight, Finn
John
Balor, Damian
John
Priest.
Cena even worked in the Indies for a while.
I'm
John
sorry?
Cena. I said John
Brother,
Cena.
like he was in the Indies for like 2 seconds, man. That doesn't count. He even says he was like in the Indies for like 6 months and then he just got signed.
Oh wow. Huh.
You know, but he had the look and that's what they were looking for at the time. You know, so I mean, good for him, and it worked out for him, obviously.
Yeah.
But my path there is going to be different. And at the end of the day, going through everything that I've gone through, and the path that I'm taking makes success that much sweeter. And I know once I'm there, it's going to be a whole nother can of worms, and it's going to be completely different from what I'm doing now. You know, chances are WWE, Nick Nolan is not going to exist in WWE.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to be a different name. It might be a different character. I don't know. So that's, that is what it is. But at least I know how to wrestle, and at least I know how to cut a promo, and at least I know how to entertain a crowd, and at least I know how to work a crowd, at least I know how to bump, at least I know how to do things.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not stressing it. I know I'm going to get there. Obviously, I'd like to be there yesterday, but I genuinely enjoy working indies. I had an amazing show yesterday at Madhouse. It was such a cool venue. The crowd was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And that's why you wrestle. I'm sure you've been to shows, both of you guys, you've been to shows where the crowd is just dead and flat. And that's when the bumps hurt. And that's when it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it. I don't know why. For me personally, that's hard, When the crowd is into it, it's so much easier to this is a real fight now. But when the crowd's not into it, it's like wrestling in an empty. It's like wrestling at Black and Brave. It's just there are people there watching, but they're not really reacting. Right.
Absolutely.
So that's when it gets hard. But again, that's the beauty of wrestling. If you can somehow get those people to get into it, then you're doing your job right. And that's another thing that I try to take with me to these shows and matches is I want to be able to, if a crowd's dead, get them into it. And I feel like I can do that. I'm starting to I tried different things. I tried, some of the same things at different shows to see what works in front of what crowd and how they react. And if what works in front of all the crowds, okay, then I'll keep that. And that's the beauty of wrestling, man. You get to try these different things. And you can try new gimmicks, new attitudes. When I started wrestling, I don't know if you guys have seen, but my character was completely different. Because my character, you want to talk about being compared to Seth Rollins. My character was very much inspired by Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
Who's one of my favorite musicians. Very flamboyant. I wear lace crop tops and, braid my hair and stuff like that. And, because it was so flamboyant, I would get the comparisons to Seth Rollins there. And I'd be like, I don't get it. Like, what? I don't wear what Seth Rollins wears. I don't do. Obviously, besides the fact that we look similar, I asked him about it, and he explained, okay, it's not necessarily the same, but because it is colorful, you're going to get the comparison. And he even said it himself. It's like, yes, we do look similar, and that's why you get that. So I was like, okay, how do I change this? And thank God, right place, right time, I was wrestling Rhino. And we decided we were going to do an Extreme Rules match. Okay, well, when I watch, hardcore matches, Extreme Rules matches, like when Shawn Michaels is in a hardcore match, he's not wearing his tights and, his boots and all that. He's coming out in jeans and a belt, a big cowboy belt buckle, and cowboy boots with his knee pad. Yeah, like he's in street clothes. So I was like, okay, well, I can use this as a chance and an opportunity to tweak things a little bit. So during that match, I just completely changed my attire. That's when I wore the ripped jeans and the vest and all that. And then ever since then, I kind of separated from that flamboyant Freddie Mercury inspired persona. I changed my music and separated from that comparison to Seth Rollins there. And even that character, I kind of split off and started going a little bit more edgy with what I'm doing now. And what's the great thing about wrestling, I'm not a character, if that makes sense. I'm literally myself. I'm literally myself, just amplified and turned up.
Okay.
And it's not because with my old work, I felt like I had to be something that I wasn't. And you can just tell I wasn't comfortable because I felt like I had to be different and stand out. But now I'm at the point where it's like, I'm going to get these comparisons. All right, well, whatever. But I'm going to go out there and show you why I'm not like this guy, why I'm not like that guy. Yes, we look similar. So what? I can cut a promo better than both of them, you know? So at the end of the day, that's what you're going to remember. At the end of the day, you're going to remember how I made you feel. At the end of the day, you're going to remember how passionate I am when I talk. At the end of the day, you're going to remember how passionate I am at the ring. So you can compare me. People say it every show. But like I said, at the end of the show, it's completely different. At the end of the show, that was so entertaining. Thank you so much. You're gonna be very successful. You're by far my favorite. Things like that. And I'm not blowing smoke up my ass. It's just what it is, you know. And that's something I really appreciate. You know, Nick Nolan, the character, couldn't give two shits about what people think. But I'm only the character, curtain to curtain. You know, I'm a normal person outside of that. So I see myself in public. I see myself in the gym. I don't look very approachable. But but people do, you know, come up to me after the shows and like to talk, and you know, I love that stuff. I love interacting with the fans because I know what it's like to be a fan, and I know what it's like to be blown off by wrestlers. And it's like, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
You know, like, brother, like, and all these people that blow you off, like, none of them work in WWE now anyway. And these are the same people that I do shows with. You know, so it's like, brother, your shit, you know, like, you think your shit doesn't stink, but it does. So that's one thing I always try to remember. I always try to interact with whoever comes up with me, talks to me, autographs, pictures, whatever. If you see me at a show, please feel free. I'm not going to say no because, you know, I'm just like you guys. I'm a fan of wrestling. I love wrestling. And I know what it's like to go and be like, wow, this guy is really good at what he does. Like, I just want to go tell him, you know? And that's something I really appreciate about wrestling fans. When I first started, I had a chip on my shoulder, to be honest. But, you know, as time goes on and you realize, okay, you know, there's more to wrestling than just myself. You begin to appreciate those things because it can be taken away from you just like that.
Absolutely.
And I'm very grateful for the people who come to the shows because they spend their hard-earned money to come to these shows. And I try, just like every wrestler should, is try to give them a show that they're not going to forget and try to get them to come back.
Fan comment, Nick, is one you love to hate and hate to love.
They're not wrong. You know, you're not wrong. I love when people feel that connection and come back to the shows. And that's what my goal is every single time that I perform, is just try to give you guys something to remember, and, you know, come back the next show and be entertained again and just support me, support whatever companies I'm with. There's a few that I work quite a bit with, you know, HAW, Madhouse, MCW. Those are the three main ones that I work with. I absolutely love them all. And
you ever thought of making your way up to CSW at all?
I've done CSW before. Just a couple of battle royals. So yeah, maybe, you know, I would love to. I would love to do CSW. I've loved the shows. And the cool thing about independent wrestling, especially in this area, and I know you know this.
Yep.
You run into the same people at all the shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The same guys you see at CSW are the same guys going to HAW. Same guys going to HAW are the same guys going to MCW. Same guys going to MCW, the same guys going to AAW. You know, and you start to build bonds with these people, and it's just like you start learning about people, and it's like you get to know names and faces and stories and families, and you know, and it's just wild to me. You know, there's people like AMB. He's one of these people I consider a friend in professional wrestling, you know, and there's not many of those, but him and I started at the same time. Like we started maybe a show or two apart.
Okay.
And we've been, you know, intertwined ever since then, everywhere we go. Him and I, always wrestling each other, and he's always beating me for some reason. But you know, I got to know his mom, his stepfather, his brother, his nieces, his nephews, his sister, you know, and these are people I see all the time. So it's like, hey, what's up, Stacy? You know, it's like, what? Like, like how do you,
That comment
these are the
earlier
same
was actually
people
Stacy.
that I'm flipping off when I first meet them. And now, like, I'm just cool with them, you know, and, like, now I actually know them. And, oh, it's this person's birthday. Oh, he's dressing, his nephew dressed up like me for Halloween, you know,
That's
like,
great.
which is wild to me. And that's so humbling, man. That's so crazy, you know, because I'm just a normal dude. I get beat up, and I beat up people for a living. I drive a lot, and I beat up people for a living. And I have a 3-year-old little boy who wants to be me, you know. So and it's just so crazy, and it's
I've got a 10-year-old same way.
I love them all. They're all awesome people, and you know, I can yeah, he is. That's the kid, Finn. You know, and there's, like I said, there's only so many people in this business that you can really call friends. And, you know, and they're just great people. AMB, Kola Laksamana, Conan Lycan. You know, these are people who I know will have my back, and I'll have theirs. You know, no questions asked. You need a favor, I'll do it. Same thing. If I need a favor, they'll do it. And that's the other thing. Like, I wasn't really expecting that out of wrestling. It's just building these, because you hear these stories of, you know, wrestling, you know, everyone's in it for themselves. No one gives a shit about each other. Yes, it is a competition to an extent, but it's okay to be nice. It's okay to make friends. Like, you don't have to be an asshole to everybody all the time, you know? And I'm very grateful for all of them. And if it wasn't for them, like, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like, yes, I am going to beat the shit out of them on April 27th at Skydive Chicago. And I am going to take the MCW Heavyweight Championship from them. But once that bell rings and I have the belt, we're back to like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that sucks. But, you know.
Sorry, I had to take your title.
Yeah, sorry, brother. You know, it's just business. It's not personal. You know, but I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for every promotion that I worked for and all the people that I meet. I'm grateful for you guys giving me a platform to just talk to you guys. I've just been rambling on for the last 53 minutes and 25
It's
seconds.
been awesome.
Man, you're good.
It's been awesome.
But
sometimes, you know, sometimes we bring wrestlers on here and we're like, man, I hope we can get enough material to keep this show going for the duration that we generally run for.
You're gonna have to tell me to shut up, because I will just talk all day and put myself over all day.
Well, that's great, man. It makes for a great show. Plenty of energy, plenty of information. I mean, people are literally going to watch this and they're going to know exactly who you are by the end of it. So
yeah, you know, and like I said, this right here is completely different from, you know, Nick Nolan. Yeah, this is in Nick Nolan, but you know,
is Nick Nolan your real name?
No.
Okay.
Nick is my real name.
The way you were like, well, this here and Nick Nolan. Like, it made you sound like you were like saying that was your name. I was like,
no. My name is Nick, though. And funny story. So I do Nick NIC. Keep in mind, I was the first one to do this, okay? Because I know Nick Nemeth does it now. But so the reason why I did it is funny is actually because of Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do Nick the way Rick spelled Rick and Ric Flair.
Yeah.
RIC, and he wanted to do NIC, but they changed his name to Dolph Ziggler, so he couldn't do that. So I was like, I like that. I'm gonna do that. So I just did NIC. Because of Nick Nemeth. So, and technically I was the first one to do it. So who's copying you?
I hate to tell you this, man, but if you, the one thing I seem to notice with a lot of wrestlers that go to WWE, they'll have a full name, like, a whole name and stuff. So if you go to WWE and just say they let you keep the Nasty Nick gimmick, you're not going to be Nasty Nick Nolan. You're just going to be Nasty Nick.
Yeah, probably. Hey, you know what? And keep in mind, the reason why I did the Nasty in front of Nasty Nick is one, no one was doing it. And that's what they did in the 80s, like Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And no one was doing that. Right after I do it, Dirty Dom Mysterio comes along.
Dirty Dom.
And they're adding the monikers in front of names again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little fun fact. I don't want to say I trendset anything.
It's kind of like Tommaso Ciampa. He's just Ciampa now.
Oh, is he?
Johnny Gargano, just Gargano.
Is he really?
Yeah, that's what they do. They just cut off all their name except for like one part of it.
Oh, that's terrible. I didn't know. I didn't know they got rid of that. Oh man, that's it. What?
Yeah,
that's a shame. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can make that into something. Because who thought Gunther was going to be anything? He was Walter. Everyone knew him as Walter. And when they changed it to Gunther, they're like, what the hell is that? And now it's like, you don't even think of Walter. It's Gunther now. So yeah. So I mean, you can make a name is just a name. Unless it's something like ridiculously stupid, you can make
like
anything.
Doink.
Yeah, if it was just Doink, Doink is never going to. That's not a name of someone who's going to main event WrestleMania.
No.
That's another thing you got to try to think of. A name, okay. If this is on a marquee for WrestleMania, is this going to be believable? Is it going to be believable? Seth Rollins versus Doink? No. Right? Or Seth freaking Rollins versus Nasty Nick Nolan.
Love it.
That's going to happen.
That's
not WrestleMania 40. I can tell you that it's not happening in a couple of weeks. But it'll happen. And there's a whole story there that needs to be told.
And how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Okay, so you're 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, so I used to think like, oh shit, I'm old. I'm not. I'm really not. You look at like,
just turn 33 or do you turn?
I'm turning 34 next month.
Okay.
In Japan, I'm like 22. They wrestle until they're 60. And WWE used to be like that. If you were like 28, that's it. You're never getting signed. But now they sign, if they sign independent wrestlers, they're going to be older because they want the maturity. Finn Balor got signed when he was like 36. Damian Priest was like 37. They signed the older guys.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
Yep.
Granted, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, they can be 56 and WWE will still take them.
Yep.
But age really doesn't mean anything. If anything, being a little bit older might be better because you have the maturity, hopefully.
Experience, yep.
And you're only as old as your body feels. If you take care of your body, you feel like you're 25, you're 25. It doesn't matter how old you are, So again, that used to be one of those things that I was very like, oh my God, my clock is ticking. Oh, I got to get signed. I got to do this. I got to do that.
That was my train of thought too.
don't even think about it, man. Don't even think about it. Because look at it this way. If you're good, are they going to say no?
No.
Right? So it doesn't matter if you're 26. It doesn't matter if you're 35. If you're good, they're going to be like, we're going to take this guy and try to make as much money as possible in whatever window he has.
Yep.
So I don't stress it. So there is, I'm going to be somewhere someday. I know that. I'm too good not to. And I'm only getting better, So you can say like, I have an ego. Sometimes you have to have one. I'm very humble, but at the same time, like I know I'm very fortunate and having the aptitude to do this. I'm
Yep.
very fortunate to have the coaches that I have. I'm very fortunate to just be able to do what I can do. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to speak the way I speak. I'm able to cut a promo. I'm able to emote emotions. I'm able to just bring out the best in myself when it needs to come out, because that's not easy, you know. And whether it's TNA, WWE, AEW, NWA, New Japan, or if another company comes along, whoever picks me up is going to make a lot of money. So
Absolutely.
ideally, there's plenty of money to be made in WWE. And there's a whole story for Nick Nolan and Seth Rollins to be told.
You know, after sitting here listening to all this, I can tell you that my dark side, the lost son, he's definitely looking forward to a match one day with you.
Yeah, dude, I'm all for it, man. I love wrestling. I love wrestling. And if you can tell a story in that ring, you're set, you know. And if we can do it somewhere, somehow, I'm down.
All right. Cool.
Just, I know you're training now, and you're
Yeah.
training at a good place. You know, just stick with it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just put as much time as you possibly can into studying matches.
Yep.
Finding the right people to
Yep.
surround yourself with is also another very important thing. Because who you surround yourself with is who is going to, that's who you are, essentially. You surround yourself with losers, you're going to be a loser. You surround yourself with winners, you're going to be a winner. What loser is surrounded by winners? Losers are surrounded by losers.
Yes.
You know, so find a mentor, find a coach, find, you know, you do these shows with people. You never know who you're going to run into and who knows who. You know,
Absolutely.
I was able to make connections through people who I trained with who knew somebody, and then
Yeah.
I became friends with this person. You know, so you're not dumb. You know who's legit, who's not. You know who's full of shit and who's not.
Oh, trust me, I had to weed that out very quickly when I decided that I wanted to finally chase my dream. I was like, I got to do it before, you know, it gets way too late into my life. And
I remember you told me that, yeah.
yeah,
And
I had to cut these other people that I was messing around with. I was like, this isn't going anywhere. I got to go.
that serves no purpose. It
Yep.
serves no purpose. And
Yeah.
it sucks sometimes. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to people you don't want to say goodbye to because they've been around for so long, you know.
Oh,
But
trust me, that those goodbyes were definitely. I enjoyed those goodbyes.
that's fine, you know. But by doing that, now you have to really make sure that you're putting the work in and
Absolutely.
studying tape and like I said, finding a coach, having a mentor is going to play huge dividends. A lot of people don't do that. They just go and hopefully they make it, and people do. But there's, you know, the best in the business have people they look up to that can really help them navigate certain things. And these people, these mentors, help you save time and not make the same mistakes they did. They've been wrestling for 20 years. They're telling you what not to do. Now you don't have to waste 20 years not doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like Triple H had Ric Flair.
Exactly. I mean, Triple H was already Triple H by the time he got with Ric Flair.
And don't get
You
me
know?
wrong, like you know, that's the one thing I noticed. Like with Steve, he's like constantly, don't do this, do this, do this, watch this, pay attention to this. And he's like constantly giving me advice. It's constantly filtering out. And he doesn't have a problem at all telling me when I'm fucking up. He's
Yeah,
like,
and that's what you need. You don't need someone to be like, oh, good job, man. Oh, yeah, you know, everything you're doing is great.
Exactly.
You're not going to get better that way. He's been wrestling for a long time.
Oh yeah.
You know, so, and he's been there, done that. So just, you know, work. You have to have this consume you. If you want to be successful, you know, it's what is that saying? Like 1,000 hours is how you become an expert at something, or, you know, whatever it is. Spend 1,000 hours practicing is when you become an expert. Like Chris Jericho didn't become an expert until like 10 years into his career. You know, so you just gotta find people who have good intentions for you, and just study, man. Study, study, study. Watch the little things. The little things mean a lot, because you go to every indie show, there's going to be dives, there's going to be flips, there's going to be people who are trying to, stand out that way, but everybody does that. What are you going to do to stand out? If everyone's doing that, what are you going to do not to do to stand out? And that's the thing you have to think of when you're doing your shows and when you're practicing things.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I really appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be hitting you up quite a bit, especially knowing you're nearby. Maybe you can give me some workout tips and stuff like that as well.
Of course, yeah.
Because, man, I've been in that gym for past couple years. The main area that I'm having problems with is right here.
That's
right
what
here.
you eat, though, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what
you
people
eat.
have been saying. They're like, diet, bro. Diet. And I'm slowly trying to weed things out of my diet and try to switch to other things. It's like there's only so many healthy things that you can find. And you're like, well, what can I eat?
Here's the thing. So find on Instagram, find some people who make healthy recipes.
Okay.
But it's not just like grilled chicken and broccoli and shit like that. It's like Korean fried rice with tandoori chicken. Like it's crazy stuff. Like it's healthy. It tells you the macros. It'd be like 56 carbs, 9 grams of fat, 42 grams of protein. Like that's good stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to find ways to make healthy foods taste good. And that's what helps. And it's a lot easier. And once you do it for a while, you're not even going to be thinking about, oh, this tastes like ass.
Well, essentially, I'm working with. So Steve said that he'd like to see me, like when he's talking to me about the working out and eating and stuff. He said he'd like to see me get to like an even 200 and then just tone up. Right now, I'm working on 18 pounds. That's where I'm working on trying to burn off.
Okay.
And, I mean, I've came quite a ways, in 2 years since I was with my ex-wife. Because I was married back in up to about 2016. Then I got remarried a couple of years ago. Great woman, Addie. Addie's actually my second wife.
Oh, is she? I don't know who that is. I've never seen her before in my life. So.
But yeah, that's my second wife. But at the time when I was with my ex, so I got clear up to I think 245 pounds, and I was just thickening up and everything else. But I've got myself clear down to 218 pounds in a couple of years, and I've been building muscle at the same time that I'm burning the fat. So it's like it takes time. It definitely does. But when I go to that gym, though, man, I'm just like constantly go. But I know that I need to get like a regimen or a routine down that's consistent on certain days and whatnot in order to really get those results I want to get.
That's the big thing. Consistency is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's just like anything. It's just like wrestling. It's just like working out. It's just like diet. You do it consistently, and that's when you see the results. You do it half-assed, you're only going to get so far, and then you take steps back, and then you put on 10 pounds, and now instead of 18 pounds, you have 28 pounds to lose.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Have a goal, and if your goal is to be on TV, look like you should be on TV.
Yes.
That's the one thing, like, I feel that's holding me back, is I need to get into better shape. Like, I'm fine for a normal person, but for WWE, I need to look like I belong there, so that's my goal. And if you want to be successful and do it at a high level, they want people who look like superstars. You're a superstar. Like you're representing the company. They want you to look the part. Not everyone's going to be Kevin Owens or Otis, I guess. I don't know.
Otis is a big boy, but man, he pulls it off.
That's what I'm saying. Though. Like, you have to be such an elite athlete at that size in order to, be there.
Yeah.
Chances are you're gonna have to look like a professional wrestler. That's who really makes majority of the money. Is like the body guys. Those are the main eventers, the jacked guys, Bobby Lashley, Romans. Seth Rollins is a big boy. You want to look that part. So give yourself, try to be like, okay, I need to lose 18 pounds. Let's do it by August. That's not unrealistic. That's like 4 or 5 months, you know?
Yeah.
You can do that. You can easily do that.
Well, that's like 3 pounds a month, roughly. So,
Yeah, that's a pound a week, if that. You know, like you can do that. That's a realistic goal. And you want to have realistic goals, because if it's unrealistic, if you're like, I need to lose 18 pounds in the next month, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
So I think, dude, by the end of the summer, you should be fucking ripped.
Okay.
You can do it. You can eat. You can do it. You put your head to it. You can do it, man. Don't let it. Don't have limiting beliefs. Don't be like, oh, it's so hard. Yeah, of course it's going to be hard. If it was easy, everyone would be walking around with a 6-pack. Everyone would be jacked. You know, like it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, big baby.
Well, I think, it's time to go into our honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions tonight go out to Nasty Nick Nolan, man. We really appreciate you coming on the show, expressing who you truly are. And, it was nice getting to know you better and knowing that you're actually kind of local. That's great as well. So, thank you again for coming on the show tonight. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you guys for having me. And then just hit me up on Instagram. We'll figure something out. You don't look too far, so we'll figure something out for you to help you out.
Awesome.
My honorable mention goes to Nasty Nick Nolan. Man, you sold it at HAW for me, man. You made me believe.
Spear.
I appreciate that. That's the goal. That's
the. I love that spear, man.
It was awesome, man. You're such a humble person. It was awesome to have you on the show. Big things in the future for you.
I know.
Yeah, I love that. Man. You held that title up. You're like, this is my title.
But what's crazy, like things like that, I believe that, man. Like I should have that belt.
Yes.
I've been with that company since the get. I should be the champion by now. It's everywhere I go. I should be the main event. I should be champion. I should be in WWE. I should be main eventing WrestleMania.
Man, what is up with Gunner? Just walking around, he's got 4 belts now. Like,
yeah, that boy puts in the work, man. But fuck him. So I'm gonna take. Well, he's walking around with 4 belts. I'm gonna take one of those. I'll make the load a little bit lighter for him. No, but seriously though, that kid is good. He does a lot, and he's so fearless. The stuff he does, man, you would never catch me dead doing. But that's what I'm saying. That's one of those ways you stand out. Like he doesn't do the flips and the dot. Like he'll jump off of a roof, literally, but it's just different. It's not like the Ricochet style.
Yeah,
it's more like the Jeff Hardy crash and burn. And honestly, he's the type of person. He's like, if I die, I die.
If I describe him,
he died in the ring before. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
Like for shoot, he did, and then they revived him.
Yeah.
So
if I had to compare Gunner to somebody, it would be John Moxley.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he has that attitude that like I don't give a shit attitude, and I love it. I love working with him. We've done a few shows together, and he was in my group until obviously last week.
Yeah.
But honestly, had he not won that match, that wouldn't have happened to him.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have happened to him. Because after my match, I told the camera that I'm coming for the heavyweight championship. I literally looked at the camera and said, you don't pay attention to what's going on over there. You pay attention to this, and I'm coming for that HAW championship.
Yep.
I didn't think he was going to win. I really didn't. And he did it without me. He did it without sabotage.
Was that originally the plan, though? I mean, to be all honestly, was that the plan for him to get that title? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know A&B screwed himself up in that match. He hit his head or something.
Yeah. So we were supposed to do something with him after the match, but we was like, he's out. You got to go.
Get him out of here.
Get that kid out of here. Whose kid is this? And I'm gonna beat him up in a couple of weeks anyway. So I don't want any excuses. Oh, brother, my neck from HAW. That's why you beat. No. I don't want to hear any of that shit. But my favorite people to work, man. A&B, him and I go back to PWX, which people have certain feelings about.
Yeah.
They were nothing but great to me, and they gave me an opportunity when no one else did. And they let me wrestle Rhino. And I've only been wrestling 4 months at that time, and I'm wrestling fucking Rhino. You know,
Amazing.
I appreciate that. But A&B, we're gonna cross paths everywhere. He's gonna be something too. He's really, really good. All the kids love him. He's very
I
much.
love AMD, man. He's a hell of a
He's
wrestler.
very. He reminds me a lot of like a Jeff Hardy, kind of like. He's fearless too. He does a lot of things that you can't catch me dead
Reminds
doing.
me of Darby Allin.
Yeah, and the kids love him. Every show that he goes to, all these stupid kids run up to him. Like, you ever see like when Hulk Hogan in his old Hulkamaniac videos, he's walking down the street and like swarms of kids like run up to him. That's what it's like. That's what he does to these kids.
Yes.
And he's gonna be good. He's already good. He's getting better, and he's one of those people. I'm so happy for him. Like, to see where he's come from and see where he's going and see what he's doing right now. Because he represented HAW as their champion, lost. He's representing MCW as their champion. He's gonna lose, you know. But aside from that, like he's a good person. You know, he's a shit wrestler, but he's a good person. No, I'm kidding. I like him. In all seriousness, I don't want not there. In all seriousness, he's a really good wrestler and a really good kid. Super humble, man. Like he has so much life in him. It's like he hasn't been jaded by anything, you know.
Hey,
it's nice to see, you know, because he still has that young kid optimism.
It's like you've got multiple personality issues. Like it's like you're letting your nasty Nick show.
No, yeah, you know, but like, I don't want it to be misconstrued. I do. Yes, I'm putting over the show and all that, and you know, but in all honesty, these Gunner, him, Sabotage, they're all I love them all. You know, there's so Sabotage, man, he's so fun to work with. Him and I, we get along so well over old school bodybuilding of all things. We'll just send each other videos of Arnold Schwarzenegger working out and like Mike Menser working out. You know, it's so weird, these bonds you have with these wrestlers, you know, these things that you have in common. But you know, that's another person I'm very he was trained by Harley Race, man, like literally Harley Race. So that's Harley Race is never training anyone ever again. There's not going to be any new Harley Race students, you know, and he's one of the last, which is actually pretty cool.
All right, well, Big Baby.
Yeah, Big Baby.
It's come to that part of the show. We're going to say our goodbyes. I'm Big Baby Ben.
Judas Black.
Nick Nolan. Nasty Nick Nolan.
He's coming for you guys. Have a great night. Wrestling with Bros. Thanks, guys.